We are working more like zone stuff. The team is gonna be like more zone. Also, we are working on going through their plays, like kind of like that.
Kendra, you had 7 rebounds last game. How, with a guard-oriented team, how important is it for you to be active on the boards at all times?
I think it's very important. Just knowing to have a, just knowing to be ready at all times on the glass, and just because of how small we are and knowing the style of play that we have, just being ready.
Kendra, Coach mentioned it the other night that she felt like you came in off the bench, gave some good energy and defense down there. What do you kind of see your role as this year?
I think just being ready at all times, being prepared, and just having an impact in a way, whether it's on the glass or setting good screens or scoring the ball.
Katarina, you got into a little bit of foul trouble the other night. Was that some like adjusting to your new role, the pace of the game, and how were you able to adjust that heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, I get in trouble like with stuff like Coach Bean say like jump stop, like always look before you pass. I was a little bit like nervous going through the contact, so it was like.
Katarina, how have you been kind of welcomed into this team? Has it been good?
Yeah, I love being here. Like, I have a good relationship with the team, the coach, the staff. It's like a good environment.
Kendra, how have y'all approached defensively adjusting, getting better in the paint as to where y'all were the other night?
Just knowing like when we're getting screened or how we're getting screened and how to play it. Just really knowing our defensive principles and making sure that we're locked in on those. And also blocking out and crashing the boards as well.
Kendra, when you watch film, was there anything specific that they did? Because it just seemed like they got really deep in the post area a lot.
You're talking about Lamar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We focused on deep seals in the post area, so we were trying to make sure we focused on being up the line and being physical and not just letting them duck in and have the easy seal inside.
Katarina, when you're playing with, like Jaden the other night goes off with assists, does that make you kind of have to have your head on a swivel at all times, knowing that these guards looking to facilitate might come at you when you might not be expecting it?
Yeah, she did a really good job. Like, I was proud of her. Like, and one thing about Jaden, like, I have always to be ready, like, be in the window because I know she's gonna pass. Yeah.
Kendra, what have you seen from Jana so far? I know Nikki said she's like one of the most conditioned players she's ever coached.
Oh yeah, Jana, she brings energy every single day, whether that's on the ball, off the ball. We just know that she's going to show us how to run the floor. And I've seen a big transition from summer till now, just taking on that point guard role.
Kendra, you had at least one bucket, maybe a couple off pick and rolls the other night. Does that, you feel like that's something you can do well?
Yes, I know. My first thing is hit somebody on the screen and then roll, and then just making sure I'm ready at all times with my hands and being ready to score and make the next pass.
Katarina, you had a really good year at Eastern Arizona last year, to score there and rebounder. What aspects of your role here at Baylor are familiar to you or the same as last year for you, and what's different for you here at Baylor?
Go offensive rebound, defensive rebound, like crash the boards all the time, like be engaged, like be on defense, always high hands, use my lane, because I'm very long. It's kind of the same, but different at the same time, like, yeah.
Kendra, was there anything you specifically worked on to improve from your freshman year to this year?
Like I said, just being prepared and just being ready and trying to stay healthy, really.
Anything else? Perfect.
Thanks,
We're
ladies.
good.
Good job.
Not bad for your first one.
Katarina, you can breathe now. It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, some of it is just you look at things that you can be better at in general, and then we've just been so limited with injuries that even yesterday, you come off a game, you practice the next day, and I think we had 7 suit up for practice yesterday. So, some of it is just getting shots up and really starting to digest. The beauty of non-conference opponents is everybody runs different stuff, and some of it's things you've seen. You're going to have to guard back screens and screen the screener actions and things like that. But then you're also going to have things that it's the first time we've guarded it this season, but we're going to see it 2, 3, 4 times. We'll face a lot of true Princeton elbow action against Incarnate Word. If we play Villanova, we're going to face it. You're going to face multiple teams that kind of run that base Princeton stuff, which I was actually joking with Jana about because that's what Stanford ran a lot of. And so some of it's very truly opponent driven, but also things that foundationally are really understanding, like our defense. I think the area we were probably the most disappointed in, big picture wise, in game 1 was our baseline out of bounds defense and offense, to be quite frank. And so, we really dialed in and spent a lot of time working on baseline out of bounds and put them in different actions that we're going to see over and over again this season, and how we defend them and where the help is coming from and who can help, where they can help, why they help, what we shouldn't give up versus what we are willing to give up, those type of things. So a lot of it was the focus yesterday was elbow action and then baseline out of bounds.
Kind of going off that with having the 7 players, is that going to impact tomorrow night as far as you expecting more people out, expect anybody to come back?
I think I'll know tomorrow. I think we could have a couple back. We could have one that played out. That's still to be determined, I think. So, yes, we could ultimately end up suiting more up. So it's like get 2 back, lose 1 type of situation. So, Jamie. She fell on her elbow.
Would y'all like to attempt less 3-point? What's your philosophy heading into this game as far as shooting threes? I know you kind of weren't pleased that y'all were taking a few too many early on, but do you want to see less shots this
Well, I'm not sure I want to give you our full-on exact analytical breakdown, but we want to shoot 21.5 threes per game. I can't probably be any more direct than that. So, but that number is basically based on a percentage of shots. If our goal is to get 65 shots in a game, we are looking at about 21 and a half of those being threes, okay? We want to shoot less than 13 bad shots a game, which means contested twos and not open shots. And so we are very analytical in our approach that way. Having said that, there are games when we're going to take more than 33s because it's the right shot. And if it's the right shot at the right time for the right player, then I want that shot. If we're hot, I'm okay with heat check shots. I think it was early we were taking quick threes. We weren't making them. We didn't have any offensive rebounding. And we didn't have any reason to have to take them. Were some of them open? Yes. Could we have gotten the closeout re-attacked to a shot in the lane, to a kick-out 3, like a more rhythmic 3? Yes. So it's all about, threes to me are about what's going on in the grand scheme of the game at that moment, and what is the defense giving you. And if it's the right shot, then we take it. But I don't want 65% of our shots in a quarter to be threes unless we're making 65% of those shots.
To build on that, I mean, you kind of hit on it there, but I mean, some of it's just playing basketball, the game that's in front of you. How much the other night of maybe just some of the, the breakdowns, the baseline, out of bounds, whatever, might have been 8 new players, jitters?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's these early games are a little bit about where are we at and what do we really need to focus on. It's not that we haven't worked on baseline out of bounds defense, but we're also subbing and have people out of the game. And, honestly, Sarah's by far our best person guarding the ball in terms of our rules. But, I sat Sarah the whole fourth quarter. Or she's out of the game more than she's probably going to be out of the game if we're in a tighter game. And when she is in the game, she's going to be guarding the inbounder. But we've got to figure out who else can do it so that when she's not in the game, we've got someone that can do it as well. And we certainly have people that should be able to do it as well. So it's some of yesterday was identifying, okay, we got to know who's going to guard the inbound player. It's crazy how you get beat on inbounds because when you think about it, there's a player out there that literally can't score because you can't score when you're standing out of bounds. So technically you got 5 people defending 4 people until the ball comes in bounds. So you should be able to stop at least an initial shot if they run secondary action out of it. So if you're really dialed in, you got an extra defender on every action. So, we just have to get better at understanding our philosophy, where we lock in, where we show help from, that type of thing.
You outscored him pretty strongly in the post, but what were your thoughts about the approach down low, in the paint, I should say? What were your thoughts about shots in the post or in close and the approach down there?
It's really funny. We scored 88 points and never made a post move. So I don't know if that's any kind of a record. I feel like it is. Synergy has us with 2 post touches. The charge on the lob pass to Asia, and I can't even remember what the other one was. I think it was an offensive rebound by Bugs. We scored at the rim. We just Erica's probably our best true, post you up, make a post move kid. I think Asia can be better down there. I think Asia's capable of really posting somebody up and doing work. I think we can play big at the 3 and post people up. What we don't have right now is someone that we play 2 in the low post very often. So I think that's a pretty remarkable number that we put 88 points on the boards and maybe threw it into the post one time. I think Kendra reverse pivoted and kicked it out. So, we have to get better there. I do think we have kids in these early games that should be getting down there and doing work early. I think Kendra is one of those players that if she makes up her mind, she can put someone on her back and score 2-footers at the rim. But certainly we get those paint touches, we get those numbers, those points in the paint by driving it there, rolling somebody in there, cutting somebody in there. And so, that's probably a little different than Baylor of the past.
What's a strength that Incarnate Word presents that y'all can't allow them to get into?
Yeah, I think for them, they're a little like us. They've got a ton of new players. When you watch them a year ago versus their first game, there are actions that are the same, but personnel is very different. I think this is a team that very different than Lamar. I felt like Lamar had really quick guards, good size in Davis in the post. This is a team that's a little more versatile because they run a lot of the elbow action out of the Princeton stuff. They're getting into a lot of screens. They're good cutters off the ball. They make you really dial in off the ball. We're going to have to be good in our communication and pin downs, flares, not let cutters get behind us. So their style of offense is very, very different. Last year they mixed up their defense a little bit more, which is kind of why Kat said we were working on our zone. I think we just need some work on our zone. They played some zone last year. They played all man in their first game, but so it just sometimes when it comes to the physicality or the matchup, you kind of sometimes are guessing early in the season at what they might do.
Nikki, at this point, with that many newcomers, do you just keep things simple, or do you throw everything at them and hope they get it that kind?
Well, we got about 8 different ways to go to ball screen, and we've got to figure out a couple that we're really good at. It's some of both. Sometimes you got to throw stuff at them, But I'll tell you, we did not run a lot of stuff the other night. I didn't think we needed to. I felt like we could get in our step ups and drags and transition, and score out of those. So we stayed pretty simple. Then they went, 2-3 zone down the stretch, maybe the last 6-7 minutes. And so we stayed pretty basic in that. We still set drags against the zone and got about anything we wanted. So, I think it's somewhat about keeping it simple. As we continue to work at the execution on a lot of our plays and sets and the spacing, getting the spacing right. Like with this team, it's very much about getting them to engage, and that plays are a guideline. I'll call them a guideline. We don't run a lot of long developing plays. When we're talking quick hitters, they're quick hitters. It's a loop to a pin down, and then we know how to flow out of that into continuity offense. And so it's still, even though that's the action, maybe the pin down is the point of attack, are we actively searching open, you heard her say, windows on the backside? When someone puts the ball on the floor, are we moving, or are we just standing and watching them? Are we cutting? Are we ducking in? Are we sealing? That to me, good basketball happens when 5 people aren't standing around. Even if the point of attack is a ball screen on one side of the floor, that the backside's fully engaged, whether we're flaring, whether we're pinning down, whatever we're doing, we're really with this team this year trying to engage both sides of the floor at the same time. Last year, we were very one side driven, very purposely. I didn't want anyone to overthink. We're probably going to get the ball to Alyssa Smith. This year, when action's happening on one side of the floor, I want there to be action on the backside. So when we're coming off that ball screen, we're not only occupying defense, but we might have the roll on the ball side. We might have the flare on the backside. We may have someone coming off a pin down. So we're actually asking more of them in some ways this year, but a lot of it is because of the versatility of our team, and not being so focused on how am I going to get the ball to Alyssa Smith.
Kendra talked about Jana's ability to control the pace. You've talked about her conditioning. Obviously, when she comes back, what does she bring to that second unit backing up Sarah?
Yeah, some of it she can let Sarah play off the ball a little bit. One of the things we've done this year is create actions to get the ball back in Sarah's hands. So if she's not running the point, there's a high probability that I'm going to run the action to get her the ball back in her hands, whether it's on the side of the floor or the middle of the floor. And so that puts her in decision-making territory. But Jana just puts pressure on the D playing downhill by playing fast. She makes you run with her, because when she gets an outlet, she's going. And, if you walk the ball up the floor, your teammates are going to jog and walk up the floor too. If you're pushing the ball on every possession, you're creating a tempo that your team is forced to play with you. And then the other thing that she is she's just an uber positive kid. Like she's happy. She's not happy being hurt, but she's happy. Having been in her shoes before, playing on a really, really good team and not seeing the floor very much, sometimes you just, as much as you like your team and you're super proud of your team's success, you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think when you make these decisions to change, to transfer, it just almost creates this light at the end of the tunnel where she knows she's not the best version of herself yet, but she also knows she thinks she has an opportunity to get there. And that's a big part of, a big part of it. Like, I've talked to her earlier when she was having some turnover issues, like, hey, you've never played in ball screens like this before. That's not what you did at Stanford. And so it's going to take you time. But, like, right now, own what you're good at. And what you're good at is playing fast when other people can't keep up with you. What you're good at is picking up 94 feet and just being a gnat. And I'm not saying if the game came down to one stop that she's our best defender, but what she is she has the temperament, she has the conditioning to keep dogging you at 94 feet for every minute she plays. And then be ready to make open shots. And if you'll do those things, you're going to help this team. And eventually, you're going to have that moment where it all kind of comes together, and you throw the pocket pass when the pocket pass is there, where you throw the kick out when the kick out is there, and you stop thinking about, should I throw the pocket pass or should I throw the kick out pass? Like, what's the right read here? Maybe it's I should shoot my jump shot, you know? I mean, and until you get to the point that you just play, you know, like you're not going to be the best version of yourself. The same thing happened with Jordan and Sarah last year. Early in the year, I said, look, Liz is going to get hers. She is going to get hers. The ball does not have a magnet on it, and Liz has a magnet on her. We're going to get her the ball. Your job is to make the right play. If you make the right play, ultimately, you're going to score, she's going to score, and everyone's going to be happy, you know? And so it's a little bit that way when you sometimes play with not a selfish mindset, but I've got to look for myself first. If you put pressure on the D by looking for yourself first as a point guard coming off the ball screen, that's when all the other stuff opens up. If everyone thinks you're passing it, everyone sits on your passes. That's what Kat's talking about. Right now, she's a hot mess going left into the middle of the lane, right? And she's going to be fine eventually. But right now, like she's overthinking and I mean, running over people in the middle of the lane.